Hey everybody, hope you're having a good Saturday. I am. I love Saturday as much as the next person, maybe a little bit more, maybe just a little bit more. And I am every Friday evening acting like a 13-year-old about it being the weekend, and I can stay up as late as I want, can sleep in as long as I want. Got 2 days. A little more than 2 days. The evening's yours too. 2+ days, 2.25 days. That's all mine. And now I've only got maybe 1.75 days. That's all mine. But I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it well. Do I want the light on in here? There's light outside. Feels like I want the light off. Let's turn it off. So I'm going to be on for a couple hours working on the worst bug that remains, the very worst. I've tried to fix it a couple times before and failed. This time I'm going to fix it. This time I will fix it. So this is all about my game, the Godkiller, and it's going to be released in 27 days. 27 days. Now, a little bit earlier there was a graphic that came up that said 28 days. Yeah, just a little glitch. I updated the image to say 27, but it didn't go across my network and get picked up by OBS. Who cares? The Godkiller, what is it? It's a puzzle game. It's a puzzle game in 3 dimensions, and there's a lot of story in it, or narrative, I think is the term people like to use. So, what do you call it? Puzzle narrative. I'm a fan of adventure games. That's a term that's maybe been overridden and overloaded. But yeah, it is an adventure, and there's puzzles in it. Lots of puzzles. It's set in an afterlife. You play a character who doesn't quite remember who the hell she is, and she comes into conflict with the master of the universe, God himself, who greets her at the entrance of the afterlife and offers her what he calls a paradise. She looks around and says, seems kind of boring. He says, don't go in this other room, and she goes in this other room. It starts a bit of a conflict between them. Other characters in the game, there's this little sniveling pipsqueak of a man who is mentoring her, so to speak, but he doesn't seem to have anything useful to tell her. And there are no tutorials in the game. You just figure it out as you go, and it's quite a bit different than other games. But we'll get into it. You'll get to see it a little bit if you've not seen it before. But I'm mainly in this session going to be focused on fixing bugs because I've got 27 days left to release, and I'm very carefully picking my tasks so that I will have the best possible thing to put forward on January 1st in my release. Alright, so let's get back to this. See, here I had just updated the graphic to say 27 days, and it just didn't get picked up. Alright, 27 days. Let's go to the game. I'll tell you about the bug. In fact, I'll see if I can get it to happen without doing anything special in the first level, which will actually give you a little bit of story. It's not too much of a spoiler because this all happens within the first 2 minutes of playing the game, so it's not much of a spoiler at all. So that's maximized. I'm going to hit play now. I'm going to fire up my little joystick. I'm taking back the word joystick. I don't like controller. Problem is, it's a very not fun name, and also it's very confusing because you talk about when you develop a game or any kind of software, controllers quite a bit. There's a level controller, there's model view controller, there's anytime I have some code that controls something, I call it a controller. So to say controller so much and then have this thing that I hold in my hand, a device, and call it a controller. I don't like to do that. So I'm going to call it a joystick. I don't care if I'm not well understood. I don't care if I'm a throwback. All right, so here you are, born into this afterlife. The controls up, down, actually north, south, west, east. There's one more that will be introduced in this level. One more thing you can do. But for the most part, it's just those 4 directions.
Hello. It's okay. It is okay.
Your hands?
I am God. You are M.
What is this place? Did I die?
Yes, you died.
This is heaven?
No,
Hell?
it is someplace new, made for you.
I died. How did I?
Welcome to your paradise.
This is... I don't get it.
Stay forever, M. All will be provided. I ask but one thing.
Uh-huh.
Never go to the room east of here.
Which way is east?
But if you do go there, do not eat the apple of infinite travel. Stay, and I will tell you something. The story of John.
Sure.
John begat John Jr. of Mary, and John Jr. begat Robert of a different Mary, and Robert begat James of Mary, a third Mary, different from the previous two.
Wait.
And James begat Michael of a fourth Mary, Mary from Chicago, not Mary from Wilsonville. And Michael begat Theodore of Lisa, and Theodore, the gas station manager, begat Jacob and his brethren. And Jacob begat Noah of Emily, and Noah begat nobody. He was unpopular.
Thanks for the story.
I have more.
I'm not ready for more.
Oh. Let me know when you are.
So the bug is that a sound, typically the ones that are noticed are dialogue, speech dialogue, or music, cuts out when another sound plays. And I was rather manically pacing around while the sound was playing to see if all the sound effects caused by my stepping might interrupt one of the speech wave files from playing, and did not. So that was not a repro, but that is how you get the bug to happen.
Do not go that way. I was very clear. The apple will make you too powerful. You won't like it. Far and fast you will travel with the apple.
That sounds good.
It's too much power for you. Probably.
It's beautiful.
Alright, so here's the other commands that you can do. I have to change that text a little bit. Hold the shift key down. I'll say hold the shift. Writing this text is a little bit problematic. So because you could have different kinds of controllers and kinds of input devices, and it might not be the A button, it might on a PlayStation controller it's not the A button or it's not the green button, it's some other button. It would be nice if I could actually know what the player was using and then craft the text to be specific to the type of input they were using. I can also do a thing that I don't really like other games do, but it would probably get me by, is I would say hold the shift key / action button down. And then you're just supposed to kind of fiddle around a little bit and figure out which button they mean. They'll probably, if they've got a joystick, they'll pick one of the buttons and they'll just figure it out. And they'll press or their keys. They'll hit the X button. No. And they'll probably try the green button first. People try shit. That's why I'm not too worried about it. So I'll just change it, shift key, action button. But that's not the main thing I'm worried about right now.
I want to do that again.
And you ate the apple.
I just walked toward.
I know, Em. I am gone.
I'll put it back.
You cannot. You could have stayed here in paradise. I would have told you stories.
I'm sorry.
Every day I would have told you stories.
Yeah.
You must go now.
Okay. So that's the first level. I did not get a repro. I did not reproduce the prop. Don't like that. So that was like 10 minutes of fiddling around and not reproducing the bug, and I still know the bug's there. And I know it's got the capacity to fuck everything up and make it seem like the game's broken and ruin story and stop songs right in the middle. I know it's still there, so I gotta find it. Since I have the hint that it's another sound playing that stops it. Now, I don't know 100% that's true. Like 97% is true, but since I have that hint, that notion, that hunch, what I could do is contrive some code to just play one sound that's a long maintained sound and another one that just plays, you know, just a bunch of little sounds real fast, and see if the other sound will stop playing. If the long sound will stop playing. I think I'm going to have to do something like that. And I really hope that gives me a repro. If it does, then, you know, that's the basis of troubleshooting, because then I can try things and I can say, do I still see the bug or not? But if I never am able to say, here's the bug, it's definitely happening, I can make it happen, then I will not know if changes I make have actually fixed it. And I'll just be fucking around trying things, and then 3 days later I'll think I've fixed it, and then I'll be fiddling around and suddenly the sound will cut out. And I'm like, God damn it. I'll just do that again. My time will run out and I won't have the bug fixed. And there's some part of me that says it's down in the Unity engine, and I really hope it's not. I really hope it's something that I've screwed up. That's the thing with all my rants against Unity and the engine code is I'm lucky if I'm wrong. I'm lucky if it's me and not them. If it's me, I can fix my shit. If it's them, I can't go into their code and fix it. I can file a bug report that could well never be looked at. There are many bugs in Unity that have been around for 5 or more years And I've got people complain about them and they don't get fixed. They're just there. That's kind of how Unity rolls. So I really do hope there's no bug in the Unity engine around this. And the best hope for that is that I've not been able to find... I didn't look terrifically hard, but I've not been able to find a real cut and dry case of somebody else complaining about the same thing. If a bunch of people are complaining about the same thing, then suddenly you feel morally vindicated. Bad Unity, bad Unity. But then they're all fucked and you're fucked along with them. Because you can't fix it. So the best thing is, it's my fault. I really hope it's my fault. I hope it's my code's fault. Alright. I'm going to get one more cup of coffee and I'm going to come right back up. I'll be gone no more than 2 minutes. Goes all the way up, then you have to do it. It's like roundhouse. I just realized that the movie Groundhog's Day now has more cultural significance than the holiday Groundhog's Day. All right, let's go to a different level, a test level. Yeah. Before I forget, I can either write a bug to do this or I can just change it real quick. I'm going to change it real quick. Flang, let's see. Mcould now flang. Hold the shift key action button down. Choose your direction of travel. That should do it. I will have to later on come back and just make sure it doesn't look stupid or the layout's screwed up, but I think it's fine. Alright, this is the worst bug. The worst bug left to fix. Right here. That's high priority. Days of effort is what I'm predicting. I gave myself the whole weekend to work on just this bug. Because I've made a run at it before, it was unsuccessful twice. So this time I'm just going to say, no, we're getting this done, even if the solution is very hard. I'm probably just in this stream going to be able to do some initial investigation, then around 3:30 I'll have to knock off because I've got a little errand to run this afternoon with my wife. Okay. Alright, so here's my little test level. I will need some kind of game object that lets me test this out. Okay, so let's go to scripts, editor, audio, let's call it audio load tester. That's basically what I'm doing. I'm load testing. Okay. Quick sound. Let's do sound effect. Name, and then let's do string speech clip name and look at sound effects per second. Okay, then I want sound effect. I'd be really happy if I can get a repro. I'd be very happy. No, don't do that. Okay, so sound effect is pretty easy to load. I just use my sound effects class, find sound effect by name. Sound effect name, okay. And for speech clip, let me see how it's done in my other code. Oh, let me read my own notes that I wrote here. Sometimes I ought to stop before it plays to end because the time has passed. Oh, that's different though. Hard to say. Okay. So that might be something I come back to, but okay. Okay, speech manner, get clip, active scene, name, character, line. But there also has to be something that loads it. Another way I can do this, I can do short sound effect name, long sound effect name, and I don't really know that I need it to be a speech clip. If I can't get a repro, then I might make it do a speech clip to see if that matters. Okay, so this is short. Okay. So I have to find the sound effect that's not too annoying. Okay. Float. Short. Interval. Next. Short. Play. Okay. Short interval equals 1/2 divided by short sound effects per second. Okay, and then the next time we'll play, I'll just play one now. Short sound effect. Play. And then we do next one. Next short play time equals right now plus short interval. In the update, we just say that if we're past the next short play time, we'll go ahead and play the short sound effect again. And we'll set our next play time out. here, let's see, if either of these are null, let's see. There's nothing to do. Let's do an initialize too. Cool. No, I don't want to do that. I do not want to do that. In fact, let's do the opposite. We'll say it's false until proven otherwise. It can be called multiple times to set things up. Let's save ourselves from division by 0. Yeah. Okay, and down here, we're initialized. Init void on validate. Init. I could also say up above, just to keep this from doing just a ton of work when I'm typing like each character inside of the string. You don't have to do a lookup for each character I type. Okay, and honestly, it's going to be real annoying to just have this thing start up immediately. Let's instead have a start checkbox. Okay, and let's also have a stop checkbox. Okay. If not is initialized, return. Don't do anything. Okay, on validate. If start equals true, start equals false, init. If stop equals true, stop equals false. I don't have to say start equals true. It's a Boolean. Stop equals false, and let's just do stop. I don't make a stop on this. Audio source maybe. Weird. I just didn't. What? That doesn't seem like I would do that. That would leave that out. It does return an audio point. I could hold on to the audio point. Audio point would allow me to stop it. I don't know if the play looping will also make it so it's not reproducible. I'm not sure. Okay, long audio point, and then we say stop. We do short audio point, stop. Audio source, stop. Okay. Audio point, audio source, stop. And I think I might just do this in case it hasn't been set yet. And is initialized equals false. Okay. Don't need this here. That's probably something that's good to leave. And also I can change this whole is initialized. It's really start playing. So let's call this start playing. And we'll say is playing equals false. Change this to is playing. And is playing equals true. Okay. If not is playing, we return. If not is playing, return otherwise. Okay. And change this to stop playing for symmetry. Okay. That feels pretty reasonable. The other thing I think I would do is we'll say if we're in the editor, don't expect any of this to work because things aren't loaded up. So if, what is it? Application is playing, or let's do the opposite. Return. Nothing to do. Okay. And that seems pretty reasonable to me. Audio load tester. Let us add it. Oh, the other thing I need to do, since this is... what did I do with these other ones? Put them inside of an if-def? I did not. This one I did. Okay. Just to keep it from adding extra code into the game that's not actually used in builds. I'll put that there. Okay. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, the build's gotten slower and slower. crate. An empty game object. Audio load tester. Okay. What? Oh, it's going to be a mono behavior, that's why. Well, that changes everything. Like, it's so late in the dev cycle for this game. I mean, it's the last month of 4 years of development. So I don't feel like figuring out why my builds are so incredibly slow. That's something to do after I release the game and we start a second project for the sequel and then figure it out there. Okay, so add audio load tester. Here we go. Now let's look for the names of some sound effects that would be good to use. That's a pretty good one. I can listen to that one for a long time and it's not gonna get me irritated. So there's a sound effect name. Sound effect manager. All down here. Exit approach. So that's the first one will be. That's the long one right there. And the other one I want is I think just the walking one. That is super subtle. I don't mind if I hear it a lot, which I will. And this is the one that has to be played maybe 60 times a second or something ridiculous like that. So, but I'll start off with 4. And then I will take this and prefab it. Okay, and then let's run this baby and see how it does. I think it's worth debugging it at least once, or put it in the debugger one time just to make sure it's not got problems with it. So I hit play. It's such a tiny level. I mean, honestly, I don't know why it takes so long to start up. Well, I did a maximize. I shouldn't have done a maximize, so let's redo that. Try again. Oh, it moved. Oh, friggin' audio load tester somewhere else. I know why, and I know where it went. Hey, maybe I'll clear out this chat window. It feels like it's time for clearing out the chat window. Twitch. There we go. OBS BAM. Properties. Alright, we're just going to clear it out. There we go. Okay, so inside the level, I think I've got the audio load tester. Let's start it. Okay. His plane is false. Did we find it? Did we find it? Yes. Yes, good. 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 Short interval. This should be 0.25. Yep. Whatever the time is now plus the short interval. Okay, I think that looks healthy. The other place could screw up is here, but this looks right. Okay. Okay, that's all fine. But I mean, let's really make it a test. Let's do 10 times as many. So I'm waiting to hear any kind of problem, but more specifically, the deep rumbling noise, I'm waiting for that to cut out. This is the kind of thing that it feels like I could just crash Unity as I go up, but I'm gonna push it, and I'll see how far up I can get. At some point, I do expect something bad to happen. It may not be the actual bug that I'm trying to find, though. Let's try doubling it. That's fine too. Okay. This is the part where I expect something to fail right here. Like, maybe we can turn the volume down. I'm like a little afraid for my ears in case something really fucked up happens. Okay, let's do 800 per second. I mean, technically, it's not going to be able to do more than the frame rate. So honestly, 400 or so is the max that I could actually do just based on the frame rate. Well, it's holding up. In some ways, that's good news. In some ways, it's bad news because I don't have a repro. I mean, it's also kind of nice that my frame rate doesn't go down when I have so much audio playing. because there's just a ton of audio that plays in the game. I'm always worried I'm like maybe affecting performance, but I just don't think on a modern computer it really matters. Like audio is pretty free. It's interesting that it did not stop the long sound effect. Not sure why. Let me take a look at the code. I click stop. Long audio point, audio source stop. Here, let's take a look. Try this again. Stop. Oh, well, this is playing as false now. So it's just exiting out there. Let me do start again. Stop. There we go. Long audio point. Audio source. See, it doesn't actually stop it. Well, that's strange, but it's not the bug I'm worried about. Okay. What to think about that? So I'm going to write out some different theories and leads. That's what I do with hard problems. I just brainstorm a bit, come up with every possible thing I might try. Okay, so one thing I could do is move looping and set a timer to handle looping. So my theory there is that maybe when you say a sound is looping, the underlying virtual resourcing says, well, this is a looping sound. It's not done playing, so it's not freed up. It's still playing. It's not available. So if I remove looping from the long sound effect, maybe it becomes eligible for the type of bug that I'm looking for. Maybe disk load for a resource is causing the end time to be set too early for audio. So this is the comment that I put inside of the speech module. The idea is in this speech in the speech module is that I'm setting an end time on the clip, but maybe that end time is not correct because it's based on a start time when the clip isn't loaded yet. It doesn't quite make sense. This is not for a repro, but maybe just turn off code that does stop playing on audio source at the end time. There was some interruption code though. Unless interruption is happening. Okay. That's probably a good change anyways, because I'm using this end time value for the cases where I would like some speech to stop playing before it reaches the end. Have you really heard this bug with music? You fixed a different bug on Pit Tower that could have explained music cutting out. Different double load bug. So that could have explained music cutting out on Pit Tower, and Pit Tower, as well as any other level with interactive triggers to music that could cause a double load. So I fixed double loads. Double loads are now handled gracefully for music. I think I've only heard this happen with speech, and that could mean one of two things. One, you just hear it with speech more often because speech tends to be longer duration WAV files, and it's really jarring when you miss speech. If somebody says, "My name is J," and it cuts out and it's about ready to say James or Jerry or Jane, or it really registers in your brain, whereas if like a footfall gets cut midway through, you probably won't even notice it. At least I won't. And I do not remember at any point hearing one of the longer sound effects cutting out. I don't think I've ever heard that happen. So it's a plausible theory that it only happens with speech. Okay. So these are repro ideas. Other ideas. Okay. Try playing a repeating speech. Wave. Okay, I will be right back. I gotta switch a laundry load over, so I've got some clean clothes to wear. It's gonna take maybe 5 minutes. 27 days. Not 28, 27. All right. The day got grayer outside, and now I want the light on. fun if I do a bunch more streaming to get like a camera pointing outside. Yeah, maybe next year I'll revamp my whole streaming setup a little bit. All right. So I like trying this one because it's pretty easy. This one's a little bit harder, but it's still pretty easy. Both of them are in the minutes to try type category. This seems pretty promising and even like the correct way to write the code. But if I don't have a reliable way to reproduce the bug, then making that change is not going to give me confidence that I've fixed it. Okay, other ideas. Maybe loading other levels causes some resources. And audio point pool. Audio point pool is my own layer on top of Unity's audio stuff to not free resources. So there's a pool of what I call audio points. It's a thin wrapper over an audio source. And the idea was I didn't want like every single thing that emitted a sound to have its own audio source and to use that. Because the sound design of the game is pretty tightly controlled and it's not realistic. It's not intended to be realistic. Like if there's a certain game object that's in one part of the scene, I do not want to use like the spatial audio features of Unity to say what that sound is going to be like. I don't want Doppler effect. I don't want 3D positioning effects, attenuation. I don't want anything like that. I'm aiming not for a realistic sound experience, but a stylized one. And it's stylized for things to sound musical and for them to have clarity where it's important, as opposed to realistic. There are a few levels in the game where I recreate a more realistic sounding group of audio sources, but for the most part, it's very stylized. So I've got this audio point pool on top of the regular playback system, and its main thing is it's just supposed to be able to let me play audio without worrying about what game object the audio might be attached to. Okay. So I do think I've maybe come to a few conclusions, though. What have I learned from the last test? Not the problem. Ruled out as problem. As cause. Probably not Unity's virtual. Where was this? Virtual resourcing. I don't know. I forget the exact name they have for it, but they have their own little pool. So I made a pool on top of their pool. I didn't realize that's what I was doing, but I think their pool is probably working fine. I don't have any reason to think that their pool is improperly grabbing high prioritized sounds and stopping them to play lower priority sounds. So probably their pool is working as advertised, because I just did 400 short unimportant sounds per second with a longer playing one on top. Although it is kind of curious to me, like, why didn't that, like, I almost expect with that many sounds playing that the long one would at some point get canceled out. Because I don't have, in the virtual pool, I don't have it set to have, 400 real channels to. I'm not using the right terms, but they have some terminology for how many channels you're gonna make available inside of that pool, and then they'll virtualize on top of that. I don't know if I really have ruled anything. It's kind of sad to say. I can only say probably not Unity's virtual resourcing, but it might have been a better result for me, not uncovering the bug, but just understanding how the virtual resourcing worked, if I did hear that looping one cut out. Because the priority on these is going to be all the same. So why wouldn't it cut out? Why would it not cut out? Maybe setting it to looping automatically gives it a higher priority underneath the hood. So the way the priority gets set is I say what kind of clip it is in this called a audio point as pool, audio point pool s.play. Yeah, priority here. Okay, so then, yeah, so I just convert the enum to an integer, and that gives it the priority. I don't know. Let's do the first one first. That sounds obvious. Let's do the first one first. Remove looping. Let's do the first idea I wrote. Next. Okay. Okay. Long interval is going to be long audio point duration. I think I'm saying duration there. Okay. And next long play time equals time plus long interval. do my own looping. Okay, let me change this from ruled out as a cause to observations. Strange that the long looping sound effect never stopped playing, even with 400 per second short effects. Okay, there's one other thing that kind of explains why there wouldn't be as much resource contention. That is that the sound effect itself lasts less than a second. It might be a half second. I'll check it in a moment here. Yeah, so say it is half a second long, and I am doing something like 380, it looked like, frames per second. So if it gets called to, let's just round up, 400. So say I'm doing 400 frames per second, and on every frame I'm starting one of these short half-second sound effects playing. That would mean I think my math is right, that I would only have about 200 simultaneously playing sound effects at the same time. If it's 0.25 seconds or a quarter of a second, then that's 100 playing at one time. And that might fit inside of my resource pool. That's probably it. So another repro idea. Choose a longer duration, short sound effect to push on the virtual pool. Okay, so that is a potential thing to try as well. But let's try the new non-looping or manually looped long sound effect. Sun's off there. The code is not correct. That sounded kind of like it tried to play two sound effects on every frame. Okay, so let's just double check. Short time, long play time. I think it might have happened is duration got returned to 0. Let's just see what this looks like. What is the duration? It's 0. Okay, let me take a look at this guy. So that duration is 0. I'll have to see if this is actually used. Some part of me says just don't even mess with that. Like, go to the source. Well, that is your audio source, and it's got the clip here. There's the length. That's the duration of the long sound effect. It's not actually a very long sound effect. I could have picked something else that was longer, but it's long enough though. Just while I'm at it, let's see what the length of the short sound effect is. Okay, it's a melodic clip set. No, it's not melodic. Non-melodic clip set. So length. Oh yeah, this is real short. This is 1/5 of a second. There's 3 variations on it. I'm just playing all 3 of them probably. Yeah, this is 0.15. It's super short. Super short. So that explains why I didn't hit virtual pull limits. And this long interval being set to 0 explains why I didn't. Why get this crap here? So it's basically playing the same sound over each frame. It's starting the sound again and again on each frame. Okay, so this needs to come from someplace else. I also want to see, since that is set to duration 0, what is supposed to set that? This duration. Oh, the fade out. Oh, this is for a transition. Okay. Well, why don't I be less confusing to myself? I will just rename this transition duration. Let's see what no longer compiles, and I can just fix all the things that don't compile. Long sound effect. Audio. Oh. I kind of think this is a red herring, but let's get it taken off the list of things that could be an issue. So audio source, and then the clip, and then the length. Okay, and let's do the same thing down below. Let's set these to audio point. Now, so I wonder if, can I just do audio point pool? Is there like a stop all? Yeah, there is. Okay, that's one I want. I don't have to worry about this. Just stop everything. Okay. And then this should be the same. Suppose this isn't very dry. But, you know, this is not like, I've probably reached about the end of about the end of the complexity it'll go into this. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's not worth writing like big future-proofed maintainable code, so I'm not going to worry about being dry. so I just wanted to rule a few things out. Okay, let's fix these. So these are transition duration. Now this I do care about though, because this code, I want it to be clear to me what the fuck it's for. If I say transition duration, then some future version of me is going to read this code and they're going to say, this is not the length of the friggin' audio that's being played, it's the transition. Okay, does that fix that? Any more? Should be able to see up in here. Is there any? I think that's probably it. Okay, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Just a little bit of code change. I don't know why it takes so long to compile. And this is after I split this thing out with ASM defs that would keep my third-party code separate from my code, and still takes bucket loads of time to build. What would Jonathan Blow say about that? He'd say it's my fault for using garbage tools. Dun, dun, dun. That's pretty good. Okay, so then let's go up to 400 again. Actually, first, before I do, let's do stop. There, that stopped everything. Okay, now let's do start. Okay. So I think I'd already sort of ruled out this theory that looping gave a sound effect or an audio clip or an audio source, audio clip playing on audio source higher priority, because there's a much easier explanation for why it doesn't interrupt, which is that it's not actually playing 400 simultaneous things per second. My limit, let's see what the actual limit is. I did mess with it a little bit to make it higher than the default. Sound. Where is that? Audio. Okay. Max virtual voice is 512. Max real voice is 64. Now that again puts me back in the wondering mode. But if I do the calcs, and we say the average time that each one of those, what is the math on this? The average time that each one of those very short things played was 0.15. So you start up on each frame one of those playing, and it lasts for 0.15 seconds. Let's assume that 400 number again, even instead of 380. It's just a little easier for me to contend with. So it's 400 times 0.15. 60. Okay, so that is at the edge of the max real voices. So I can probably just pick a slightly longer sound effect and get it to start cutting out. So I'm just making a note. 64 real voices, 512 virtual. So if I try to do more than 512 sound effects playing at the same time, I think the Unity subsystem is going to say, nah, failed. It's not playing. Whereas if I just go above the number of real voices, I'm not sure what the exact behavior is, but it could do things like the audio source says it's playing when it's not actually, you can't hear it playing. It sort of pretends like it's playing. It could be something like that. But I don't think it would ever return an error. I think that's the idea of the virtual voices, is that you use them and they act like they're playing something. The more recent one that you try to play, if there's resource contention over the real voices, is going to override another, is going to stop another voice that's at the same priority. And there's some other heuristics in there, like how long ago it was played, in order to play as a with one of the real voices. So anyways, so there's that. Now I want to pick a different sample to use that has a longer length. Let's see what I've got in there. Something that won't be really obnoxious to hear it repeated again and again, but takes a little bit longer. Let's see. I can also just turn the volume down lower too, so it's not as terrible to listen to. The ice one might be a good one. Let me check that. This one might not be bad. Let's see. What's that? That seems really short though. Yeah, it's 0.162. No, it's going to be a lot. Grass walk. Let's see what you sound like. Now you're 0.168, you're 0.090, but now you're shorter. Okay. If I really wanted to just sound terrible and to do this one, actually it might not sound bad. Get 400 Ellis McKnights going. Okay, how long is that? 0.46? Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty benign too as far as sounds go. These other ones though that'll play 0.4, 0.25. Okay. I could make a new one too. 0.12. That's a terrible one to have playing again and again. Don't do that one. Okay, here's one that's a half second. That one's pretty good. See, the other one's 0.5, 0.4. So that would probably be enough to get me into the resource contention area I want. It's a little drum beat thing. It's got a big attack at the beginning that's going to be annoying. That'll play in different notes though. That's going to sound crazy. Fuck it, I'm doing sacrifice. Alright, so come back to my audio load tester and we'll do sacrifice. This might sound really terrible, but tolerable is what I'm after. This sounds kind of nice. problem is that I can no longer hear the long sound effect to know if it stopped. So let's look at these slid. That's a good one. Yeah, let's do slid. Okay. No, we'll start out with 4. If I do like 100, so clear this. There's also an audio point pool limit too. So that's interesting. So there it was actually cutting out. Yeah. So what I'm learning from this though is that neither the Unity virtual channels, the underlying resources, are likely to be the cause of the cutout, or the audio point pool, because I don't play anywhere near this number of sound effects when the problem happens. So it's just really testing the bounds and seeing that the bounds are pretty high for both Unity's built-in system and then my audio point pool, which is layered on top of it. Let's see if I can find a sweet spot where the audio point pool is not canceling out, but the Unity resourcing is. Stop, clear. So I'm listening for the low rumble to cut out. Oh, there it is. Oh, but that might have been the audio point pool. So it seems like maybe my audio point pool is the first one to have a limit to it. Like the What is the size of my audio point pool? It is in Booter. 80. So I don't know. I guess I would have predicted that the Unity resourcing would stop the low rumbling sound, just kind of because it was the longest one playing. But it might have some additional heuristics to it. Like it might be able to say, you know what? The same sound clip is being attempted less than a millisecond since it was previously played. Why don't we just kind of futz it a little bit, because we know that it can't really sound much different. It's probably a mistake to try to play a sound so close to the other one that was previously played. So if I was trying to optimize that code as a Unity programmer, I would probably do something like, say, let's just move the play position of the earlier playing one up a little bit, advance it, 20 samples further along, and it's not going to sound perceptibly different. We don't actually have to play another instance of that, particularly when we see that we're nearing resource contention. So there could be some cleverness going on there. But again, I'm led to the conclusion that neither the bounds of Unity's resourcing for audio or my own layer on top of it are being hit and are responsible for the bug. And I've been able to reproduce something that is like an audio cutout, but it happens at such a high level of playing sound effects that, it's just really improbable that's the cause of the bug. I just do not get anywhere close to playing hundreds of sound effects at the same time. I know this. I put in logging to check it. All right. So let me write that up. That is narrowing the problem. I'll say that. AD audio point pool. Bounds are try this. No insights. Try this. I'll say no difference. Was able to. This kind of note-taking becomes more important when there's like a complex problem. And then you start forgetting things you already learned as the problem gets more convoluted and there's more history to it. So what happened with this? I was able to max the audio point pool and get it to stop the long sound, but not the Unity virtual pool. At least I didn't hear any evidence of that when I was okay. When I was playing plus 70 simultaneous sounds, there might be a little window here that's pretty hard to hit with that. Okay, when I was playing plus 70 simultaneous sounds under audio point pool limit, no sound cutout. This leads me to believe that Also, the audio point pool limit is plenty high. In cases where the sound cut out in earlier repros, the speech would cut out well before audio point pool limit reached. Okay. According to logs. Yeah. So I'm just reminding myself that I did some fairly rigorous testing on this earlier with very verbose logging, and I was definitely not loading up the audio anywhere close to what I'm doing right now. And the only limit that I found was my own audio point pool limit. I would have to set the audio point pool limit excessively high in order to maybe find Unity's underlying limit. But Unity seems to be holding up like a champ. Unless there's just some really freaky deaky intermittent type bug, which is not out of the question, but my best lead at this point is the speech, like the logic inside of the speech manager is causing the speech to cut out. Simulate frame drops at key points. So this thing with the disload for a resource, that's wrong. Because when speech plays, it's all been loaded in. Speech is not loaded in on demand when some character wants to talk. It's loaded at the start of the level. So the editor at edit time checks and sees what are all the speech assets I'm going to need for this level, and it puts them in a low list, and then when the level loads later on, not edit time, it looks at that list, which was saved in a game object, and it says here's all of the audio assets we're going to need for this level. Let's load them all in. If I attempt to play any speech before they're loaded in, it just simply fails and says you tried to play speech before it was loaded. So that would not produce the bug. No. Okay, this is the most promising fix, but again, like I was saying before, I really want the repro before I put the fix in. So I'm thinking about this. It's 3:15. I promised my wife that I was going to take off at 4 with her. I'm going to go a little bit longer on this. Let me see if I can do this before I stop the session. Let me see if I can get audio load tester to play a speech text. In repetition. I don't know if I'll be able to repro anything with that, but that'll be kind of like the next thing to test out. So, okay, we're just thinking a little bit longer about this. The theory about the disk load was that maybe there'd be a little hiccup with the disk load where it would cause a frame drop, essentially. And that would mean that the time that I put in my speech manager for when the audio started playing was incorrect, which meant that the end time for the audio finishing was also incorrect, and that may be causing the speech manager to stop that audio from playing before it was truly finished. And you could say, well, why would you even do that? Just let it play. And that makes sense to me. But I also had some other code which said sometimes we want to interrupt somebody when they're talking. And for that, we set the end time to wherever the desired point for them to stop talking is. Now, another way of making that code potentially be reliable, is to look at the position according to the audio source of where it is in the playback. Now, there's a little thought in the back of my head that value was unreliable, and I decided not to use it. Like Unity audio system didn't do a good job of reporting the actual play position inside of some audio. But let's just write it down as an idea. The whole thing about this is not truth. These are just brainstorming ideas. So we'll say, or use the audio source position. Or it might be called something else. Time, I can't remember. To determine if at the interruption point. Because one issue, if I just say, okay, we're going to let the audio clip play unless it was specifically interrupted and has an end time set. One issue with that is if there's a problem that makes the end time incorrect for a clip that should play at the very end, then that same problem can be present when we're performing an interruption, and the interruption may come too early in the clip. And further, the end time is actually used in some logic where we want to know, is anybody speaking right now? Is somebody speaking right now? Because if they are, then our level controller might wait to have another character speak, for example. So if the end time is being relied upon to see who's talking, that's got problems. Okay, other ideas. Move speech audio sources to face controllers or characters to character instances. and stop using the probably more expensive lookups to see if people are talking. That sounds kind of messy, but like I said, brainstorming. Let's see, let's make a rejected ideas. I don't have to write no in a big stupid way at the beginning. It just kind of looks silly. No! It's my own idea and I'm like yelling at myself. Okay. I think it is probably just the speech. I think this is probably good analysis here. Maybe. But I did have repros when the audio point pool had plenty of availability. Same, okay, maybe loading other levels causes some resources in Unity's virtual pool to not free. That would be magic black box type stuff, but that one I can't poo-poo as easily as the previous one. So this is pretty close to being rejected. But I do remember somebody saying if you keep on restoring to different levels, and then he thought like maybe that was the cause of it. He said specifically restoring. And that makes a little more sense than just moving from one level to the next. Restoring levels instead of next progression might cause different resource issues. So if that were the case, then that would mean there'd be some kind of cleanup I'm not doing properly when we do a restore. But I mean, I think I just do audio point stop all. Audio point pool stop all. And it just stops every single audio point we have. This audio point pool is a don't destroy object. So when we go from one scene to the next, it just stays in memory. It doesn't unload and then a new version of it comes in with the next scene. It just is always present. Okay, let's get a speech thing loading. That'll be the next thing. I guess. Let's do. Question is, do I want to just keep adding to this functionality, or do I want to delete the long audio thing? I think I would like to make it so you could be optional, not specify anything for the long, and just, yeah, okay, so we'll say let's just make this so it's a little bit hard. see, what are the calls I have to make? Speech manager. Okay, so boot. So we got a bunch of speech clips, a load tracker. Okay, so you say load speech clips, and then it starts loading. You have to pass in the resource paths. How did I do this on test dialog? Oh, I didn't have any audio there. That's how I did it. Okay. So I can pass in some resource paths to load speech clips, and I don't need to make this like a endlessly configurable thing. I've decided. Let's keep it simple, even to the point that it's a little bit junky. So, speech. What did I do on main? I hate it when I command tab over to Unity and I've just made a little small change in the code, and it's got to recompile everything before I can even just go into the Unity editor and just look at something that I need to make code changes against. Okay, so stop. Jeez, just stop. Just let me. Okay, speech resource paths. That's what is getting passed in. Okay, so I'll just follow this, and I think it's just going to be addressables. So I could probably just get all of the addressables I want by going to speech and go. Yeah, just grab these. That's what it'll be. Okay. So I'll just pick out I'll just pick one.
Also, a nice day.
Okay, we'll have that one just go again and again and again. That's the addressable name. Here we'll go to this guy. Let's put this in the editor. Be a little easier for me to find. A nice day. A nice day. Have a nice day. My apologies to Martin Beadle and everyone in the United Kingdom. Americans, when they do British accents, they think it's just one British accent. Or maybe they can think of like, there's an Irish accent, and there's Scottish accent, and then there's a posh London accent, like a butler. And then there's like the rough northerner accent, you know, the oi. think it through. You know, that kind of thing. That's it. That's all Americans can maybe, like, if they like UK stuff, if they watch the BBC a whole bunch of times, that's all they can distinguish. And those are the Anglophiles. But there's like anybody that lives there, they got the accents down. I don't mean like reproducing them. I mean just detecting them. Their ears are so fine-tuned to all the little geographic differences. They can tell you which city somebody lives in. I think well beyond Americans, even in their own country, identifying like which states people are from. Like UK people, they're just, on average, exceptional at picking out accents in their own country. So whenever I do like my dumbass imitation of Martin or somebody else, I'm like knowing it's worthy of cringe. But I do love his God voice. I really do. It's great. It's really good. Okay. So this has to be something like, stop trying to make it like lovely future-proof code. Let's do void start. And then okay, speech manager, load speech clips, and we'll say new boom boom, and then speech name. It's not actually a good name for the property, but again, this is not like production code. This is fuck around code. Okay, so we load the clips, and then we say, if I don't even want to make this be a public property. Let's do equals. No, not that. Okay, this is where I lost the copy and paste from the Unity editor, so I have to Command Tab back over to Unity. It's going to try to compile everything. No, it was fast this time. Oh, because I broke the compilation. That's a useful trick. Okay, take that out. It's no longer something you configure in IDE. We'll just say this is the shit that's gonna load. That's how it goes. Oh, nice day. Okay, and then I'm starting to get the feeling that the short sound playing has nothing to do with the long one cutting out. And I'm starting to get the feeling that it really is all just speech and it's nothing else. It's nothing to do with the short one playing at the same time. And long sound effects, I've seen no evidence of them cutting out at all. So I feel like I'm narrowing this a little bit. So my goal is to end this session having the speech playing on repeat in this little load tester. And I'll have to come back to this problem. It's a days-long problem. It's a multi-day problem, maybe. Okay, so then we say, if not application is playing return. Let's just take out the long. Let's just take out the long sound effect. I see no evidence that there's anything that needs to be done with the long one. None. So let's just simplify all this. Otherwise, it just gets to be more work just to make small updates to it. So if I delete all the stuff that says long, then that lights up everything else I should delete. Oops, not that. Okay, and this. For this one, I'll use the speech manager. If speech manager S is, I don't know, if speech S is anyone's, if not, we'll just start that speech clip playing again. Okay, so here let's say if we're not playing, return. And also if speech manager says we're still loading, is loading, return. Okay, if either of those things is true, we'll stop. Okay. Then there's going to have to be a speech clip. Is that right? No. Or I should say, I want to go through the same interface the game does to play the speech, so I will try to do it correctly. So this will load. It occurs to me that I'll have better luck with this if I use one of the sound effects that's designated as a common sound effect across multiple levels, because otherwise the code that loads is going to say that audio clip you're trying to load does not go with this level. But if I pick one of the common ones, here we go, common with the M saying excuse me. Let's find one that's a little bit longer.
Scooter-doo.
Could have her saying that over and over.
Excuse me. Please, excuse me.
I kind of like that one. I feel like that won't annoy me too much to hear it again and again. Chelsea's lovely voice. Alright, so let's change the one it uses to be this one. Okay. If nobody's talking and it's loaded, let's go ahead and play speech S play characters M, and then we'll say we want, oh, this is not play but say. What is it? The line. Okay. It's just, excuse me? Was that what it was? Okay, let's go back. Gotta get the first three words correct. Please excuse me. Okay. Please excuse me. So that's how it looks these things up. Okay, and then anything else I should put here? Offset, emotion, none of those things matter to me. Okay. So she's going to say, please excuse me again and again and again. Might as well just drag this down to here. It's the only place it's used. Const. Okay, so I'll start those loading. Okay. If we say start playing, what does that mean? It means we need to also say this up above too. Okay, are you saying this is never used now? Yep, it's not used. Okay. I'll leave it for the moment. Now let's give this a shot. Start anytime you can start. Okay, any errors here? Seems okay. Let's see how well. Oh, how ironic! I put it in the editor and suddenly I don't have it because it is the editor. Okay. Okay. I get it. Let's take this guy and put it, I guess, inside of main. And then we will try this again. But part of me is like, good for you. Just delete that whole editor thing. I don't know if I did that or Unity did that automatically. I can't remember. One of us did that. Okay, so then come to the audio load tester and let's try it.
Please, excuse me. 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 Please, excuse me.
Have 80 of these going.
Please, excuse me. 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 Please,
so I'm waiting to hear her please excuse me get cut midway through.
Please excuse me. 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 Please excuse me.
Do more of these.
Excuse me. Please 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 excuse me.
It seems to be working great.
Excuse me, please, excuse me, please,
Which is too bad.
please, excuse me,
Would have been nice to get a repro from this.
excuse me, please, excuse
But
me, please, excuse me, please, excuse me.
I know what I'll try next. I'm not going to do it in this session. It's time to wrap up the session and do my little afternoon errand. The next thing I'll try is inserting some heavy CPU event which causes a frame drop right after the speech begins playing, in the hopes that it causes like a delay of some sort that means the end time gets set incorrectly. So that'll be the next thing, but I gotta wrap the session right here. Alright. Tough bug, the hardest bug left in the game. It's gonna take some more work to get deeper into it. But that's good for this stream. I'm gonna stop it right here. If anyone's lurking, if anyone's watching on YouTube or Twitch archive later, cool. Glad you got something out of this, I guess. Or maybe you were fooled into wasting your time on this, in which case I'm sorry. I didn't mean to waste your time. I was just going about my work day and hoping that it might bring something of value to you, entertainment or information or something. A target of ridicule, perhaps, to light up your day. All right, anyways, stopping the stream. Stopping the stream right about now.